always about 16 steps here. Always about 16 steps. There it is. Okay, we are live and recording. Good morning.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting of the Salem Public Art Commission to order. Today is Wednesday, March 9th, 2022, and it is 9:34 a.m. I'd like to start with introductions. My name is Chris Darcy. I'm chair of the commission.
Commissioners?
I'm Kelly James, Commissioner.
I'm sorry, I'm Rick, Commissioner.
Paula Booth, Commissioner.
Zach Hall, Commissioner.
I'm Heather Dimke with Public Works. And we have Judy and Mark. Do you want to introduce yourselves today?
Judy Postier, Public Works Support.
My name is Mark Weinstein. I'm an assistant city attorney for the city of Salem. The Salem Public Arts Commission is one of the commissions that I advise through my work with Public Works.
Thank you. Do our guests want to introduce?
I'm Dean Howes, owner of Vagabond Brewing, representing John with Valley Roofing.
I'm Susan. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, you go right ahead. Go right ahead.
All right, Susan Napak. I'm the communications chair of the Grant Neighborhood Association and the liaison for the Belmont and Cottage street painting project.
Cool. I guess I'll go next. Is that all right?
Sounds good.
I am Mario de Leon, and I am the artist to the Iwo Jima and Veteran mural.
Welcome. And Tana. We might not have sound. Looks like you've been unmuted.
All right, can you guys hear me on here?
There it is.
I'm so sorry, I've been out. I'm Tana, I am the office manager here at Valley Roofing.
Welcome, thank you. Okay.
All right, next on the agenda is public comment. Are there items that public comment has been submitted for that are not on the agenda for today?
I have no public comments for items not on the agenda.
All right, I am looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda, the agenda for today, and the minutes of our January 12th and our February 16th, 2022 meetings. Is there a motion? Kelly, you're muted?
I move we approve to. I move that we approve the minutes of the January 12th and February 16th meeting and the consent agenda. And what was the other item?
That's it.
Good.
Is there a second?
I second.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, consent agenda is approved. Next, we are going to, we need to adopt the procedures for public murals, the hearings procedure. And Heather or Mark, do you want to say anything about this?
I sent these out. We do not have adopted procedures for hearings of this sort. We haven't done one for years, and I just learned that we should indeed have a set of procedures that are adopted by this group. So I sent out some draft proposed procedures, fairly simple. I think there's 11 steps to get through, and it mirrors what the other boards and commissions do for their hearings. I'm happy to share that again on the screen if there's any questions. Otherwise, we just need to move forward with adoption. So let me know if you'd like me to pull those up.
I would like you to pull them up just quickly.
Sure.
Thank you.
And let me find them and I'll pull them up. There we go. Can everyone see that?
Mhm.
Yes.
Quite a few steps, but they're all fairly simple. So we will go through, I will provide a brief presentation that kind of walks through the application and the requirements. We don't yet have anyone from a neighborhood association wishing to speak, but if someone joins, they have 10 minutes. And then we have public testimony. Before the neighborhood, I'm sorry, I skipped through that. We do have several people here representing the applicant today, so they have 15 minutes to speak. Any additional public testimony, and then we request that a motion be put on the table for discussion, at the end of which we will vote on that and go through a roll call vote to count the ayes and the nays for the proposed mural.
Questions from any commissioners? Thank you for sharing that, Heather. Is there anyone who is ready to make a motion to adopt the proposed hearings procedure for public murals?
I move we adopt the hearings procedure for public murals.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor of adopting the hearings procedures for public murals, say aye.
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 Motion passes. All right. Here's where we get to put this to work. I'll pull my notes out. So at this point, I am going to open the public hearing for the proposed mural at Valley Roofing at 4910 Turner Road Southeast in Salem. Are there any conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts that any commissioner would like to declare regarding this project at this time? All right, it does not sound like we have any conflicts. At this point, I'd like to call on Heather to give the staff presentation on this applicant.
Okay, so here I go. I'm going to share my screen again. And everyone can see that. Okay. There we go. Join screen. Okay, thank you. Today, March 9th, 2022, this is our public hearing for the proposed public mural at 4910 Turner Road Southeast on the building of Valley Roofing and Exteriors. So this is a map showing the general location of the address, again, 4910 Turner Road. This is in the Southeast Mill Creek Neighborhood Association area. It is zoned for industrial commercial use. And the painting that is in place that is being proposed as a public mural is on the north facing facade of a commercial building facing towards Kubler Boulevard and visible from both Kubler as well as Turner Road Southeast. So if you can see so Kubler and Turner. And this is where Valley Roofing is. And here's an image of the existing painting. I pulled this image actually from the web. There is an online petition that's been circulating. So this particular image shows the painting from top to bottom, even all that which is behind the fence line there. And it looks like our artist here today was still painting when this was taken.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to start running through the requirements. So in the city of Salem, the requirements for public murals are contained in both code, Salem Revised Code Chapter 15, which is our public art code for Salem, as well as the council adopted guidelines, policies, and procedures for the art code. Per Salem Revised Code 15, a public mural is defined as an original two-dimensional work of art that can be comprised of paint, ceramic, glass, other that is affixed directly to the exterior wall of a building. And importantly, as it states, needs to be approved by the Salem Public Art Commission and accepted into the city into its public art collection. A public mural is not anything that is not an original work of art, something that is mechanically created. And importantly, I want to just share that anything that is not deemed or approved as a public mural is subject to the city sign code, which is chapter 900. So any exterior painting, if it is not approved as a public mural presently per the code requirements, it would be considered a sign per chapter 900 and is then subject to different zoning requirements and different size restrictions as well. So the intent of the public mural program in chapter 15, as stated in code, it is a program that's supposed to enhance the aesthetics of the city, provide avenues for original artistic expression, encourage community participation in the creation of original artworks, and hopefully reduce the incidence of graffiti and other crime. And that's per 15070. As well, per 15090 in chapter 15, there are 6 minimum standards which must be met for approval of a public mural. And I'm not going to go through each of these now. We'll walk through each later on in this presentation. As well, per the guidelines, policies, and procedures adopted by SPAC and City Council, there are 11 additional selection criteria that need to be met for public murals in Salem. And same thing, we'll walk through each of these. So to start, for the 6 standards identified in chapter 15, the first one, these murals must remain in place for not less than 7 years, and that's explicitly called out in code. In the mural applications that were submitted, the business owner has agreed to continuing maintenance of the existing painting for 7 years at least. Item B, murals cannot be on historic or contributing buildings. In this particular case on Turner Road, this is not a historic district, so this does not apply. As well, they cannot be approved on residential buildings. And again, this is a commercial industrial area, so it does not apply. Public murals cannot include electrical, moving components, or any lighting. In this case, there is none of those included. These must be placed in a location that is accessible to the public. For this particular case, it is a high vehicle traffic area, but it is accessible to the public, to pedestrians. It's also highly visible from both Kubler Boulevard as well as Turner Road Southeast. In addition, the building owner must convey an easement to the city, clarifying that they indeed do intend to maintain the painting or mural for a period of 7 years. That easement in a form approved by our city's legal staff has been submitted and signed. Okay, so I've moved through chapter 15. These are the 11 criteria, additional criteria in the guidelines. So criterion A speaks to the strength of the artist concept. Per what we've seen and per the materials submitted in the application, this is indeed an original painting that depicts the raising of the American flag atop Iwo Jima. The craftsmanship of the artist has been demonstrated as the artwork is in place by Oregon muralist, I believe, Mario de Leon, who I did a quick search and it looks like has done other murals in the area and has an Instagram page sharing his other artwork with a following as well. Appropriateness of scale to the wall. The scale of the existing painting does fit the large north facade of the building. And again, it is located in a commercial industrial area with high vehicle traffic. The artwork serves as a tribute to soldiers of color as well as all American veterans, speaking to the geographical, sociocultural relevance. No opposition has been received from either the neighborhood association or nearby businesses. And in fact, in the application materials, the business owner did indicate that the design was shared with nearby businesses before it was painted with no opposition. And item G, ability to complete on time and budget has been met as the painting has been completed already. So again, this particular painting is not in a historic district. Some of these are repeats, does not include any electrical or moving components or lighting, and is in a location that is highly visible. So quickly, I just wanted to touch on some of the public feedback that has been received. I did post notice of public comment, of an open public comment period and this hearing back on January 28th. That was shared with the business for posting at their site. It was shared with the neighborhood association, the Southeast Mill Creek Association, and it was posted to the city's website. I did not receive any feedback, either positive or negative, from the neighborhood. And all comments received as of last night at 5 p.m. were sent back out to the group and posted online. All were in support of leaving the painting in place. I did receive an additional 5, it looked like, emails overnight also in support. And then before I end, I just wanted to touch quickly as well on some of the comments that were received prior to the public hearing. There was overwhelming support that was submitted to the city council email. We have a general council email that includes the mayor. At least 50 emails came in through that route in support of the painting. I think additional were likely received individually to the councilors themselves. It was further estimated that there was about 80 phone calls that came into the city manager's office alone, offering support for the painting. And then it was recently brought to my attention that there has been an online petition circulating to garner support for the painting as well, with over 41,000 signatures from folks both in Oregon and it looks like out of the state, in area and out, that do indeed support this mural. And hopefully our guest today can speak a little bit more about what has been received through the business. And so finally, there are 3 options at the end of the public hearing today. One being for the Public Art Commission to approve the proposal as it has been submitted today. Second is to approve the proposal with additional conditions intended to satisfy certain guidelines or criterion that we just walked through. Or the commission can deny the proposal based on non-compliance with any one of those criterion or guidelines, stating which of those guidelines have not been met. And then these are the last 2 images that were submitted as part of the application materials. And that's the end of the presentation I had this morning.
Do any commissioners have questions for Heather regarding the presentation or the guidelines? All right, seeing no further questions, I am going to call for the applicant's testimony. And I'm not sure who's going to go first, but when you speak, please give your name and address. So again, welcome. And who would like to speak on behalf of the applicant? We have a total of 15 minutes, and Heather or other city staff will keep track of the time.
I guess I can start. Dean House representing John at Valley Roofing. He couldn't be here this morning. I mean, not sure what else you might need from us. It seems like the overwhelming support that we've received from the community, as well as the willingness of downtown to work on this application, that, you know, it's in a non-standard way since the mural's already in place. I mean, if you guys don't have any questions for us, this kind of seems like a done deal.
Well, we'll get to the questions shortly after you finish speaking. Mario, would you like to say anything on behalf of your work as an artist and your involvement in this, since we seem to have plenty of time?
Yeah, I first and foremost, I want to say thank you to everybody who supports the mural, and thank you to Dean for creating the page to help support the work. And yeah, you know, along with Dean, I think we've covered most of the bases, and, you know, just waiting for the final answer.
All right. I'm gonna close this part of the discussion unless any of you would like to add anything else.
If you don't mind, can I add something?
Please.
Okay, so I'm the office manager in here, so I take all the calls and everything. And I cannot explain how much it has been moving to see how many veterans have came in here. And I mean, I've heard stories, and I wish that I could have documented them better, but I've heard stories of veterans who were really at a low place, and especially with everything that was going on around the time that we had finished this mural, and hearing their stories and how much it touched and moved them has just been absolutely, honestly, it gives me chills to hear the stories that I had heard, you know, and with how much it meant to the community and everything. So, I mean, genuinely, it's just been really moving to see. I mean, we've had an outrageous number of people who have supported it and called. My call volume here, I mean, for a good solid 3 weeks, at least doubled. My email was going crazy. It was really moving to hear everybody and how much people supported it. We had people from all over the United States calling in, and I'm sure you guys were overwhelmed as well with support from it, but I just wanted to make note of that.
Thank you. All right. With
Can
that,
I say one more thing? Is that
Please.
okay?
yes, sure.
Sorry, I'm not the best at public speaking, so I was kind of nervous with the first thing, but, you know, it's but same thing with Tana. You know, I received an amazing amount of support and thank yous, and from veterans, and really I was telling them, I was like, you don't need to tell me thank you, it's me telling you thank you, right? And it's been an overwhelming amount of support from everybody, from my family who serves, from all my friends who serve. You know, it's been quite an emotional process for this mural, and you know, I just hope that we can just honor the ones who serve. That's the main goal, just honor the ones who have served, right? And just like Tana says, you know, these people who serve, they go through a lot, and they're selfless people, and you know, something like this, it just needs to stay, especially in today's political climate. I think it's extremely important that we tell the stories of everybody who have served, whether they be of color or whether they just be white, black, brown. It doesn't matter. These are people that deserve to be honored in everyday life.
All about unity, and I think that was John's whole purpose to this all was,
Yeah.
It's all about unity. Everybody come together. We all, right now, there's so much going on right now in the world we don't know what's going on, and I think it was all about united everybody together. And, you know, what truly matters the most right now is all of us standing strong together, and that was the main motive behind this for John.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you for those thoughts. All right, I am going to close our time for the applicant's presentation. And has anyone joined this call from the neighborhood association who would like to offer a comment?
I haven't had anyone else join.
All right, so for the record, we have had no comment from the neighborhood association. I'm now going to open public testimony. Have you had people sign up for public testimony? Heather, please clarify what the process is for that for me.
Sure. Yeah, no one contacted me wishing to speak here today. So again, I did receive some additional emails last night, but no one signed on to speak today.
Okay. Commissioners, do you have any further questions of staff regarding this application?
Chair, may I make a recommendation to the board, please? This
Yes.
being the time for public testimony, I might recommend, Chair, that you move and accept into the record any public testimony, written public testimony that was submitted during the open period of written testimony. I believe some of that's been included as an attachment to the staff report, as well as an additional submission to the commission as of yesterday. I think it should be moved and accepted into the record so that those items are officially within the record of this hearing.
Thank you for that recommendation. Is there a motion to include all the public testimony, to enter the public testimony that has been received regarding this matter and this application into the record? Can I have a motion to that effect, please?
I move that we accept all of the public testimony received into the record of this hearing.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion to enter the public testimony into the record, say aye.
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 All right, and there are no votes. All right. Does the applicant have any further comment? All right.
No.
Then at this point, I am going to close the public hearing and we will go into deliberation. All right, it looks like I need to call for a motion to begin the discussions. Is there a motion to begin the discussion on the application?
Move we begin the discussions.
Is
I
there a
the
second?
motion.
Chair, may I clarify? May I clarify the intent of that step of the procedure?
Please.
It wasn't intended that there be a motion to enter into deliberation. There's not a motion, an official motion before the commission that there is deliberation on. So the intent of that is to consider a motion to support accepting the artwork into the city's public art commission as a mural, to decline it, or to accept it with conditions. There would need to be some formal motion that's seconded and moved and seconded for this board, this commission to be deliberating on.
Okay, thank you for that was my error. I'm using some notes here, what I misinterpreted the message. So commissioners, is there one of you who would like to make a motion to either accept the mural, not accept the mural, accept the mural with conditions?
I move we accept the mural.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Seconded. Okay, seconded by Zach. Discussion.
It seems like there's a lot of public support for it. So, and it's in a part of town that does not have any real public art. So I think it's a good addition to the area.
Other comments?
I agree. I think the work was well done and it'd be great to have public art a little bit more dispersed for around the city. So I agree.
Other comments?
I'll just give a personal comment. I don't know, it was a few months back, I guess, and we were driving out to Turner and I saw it for the first time. I made my husband pull over. I'm like, stop, we got to pull over. It's really amazing in that space. I mean, that, you know, it's so industrial, and to come upon this incredibly large, powerful, beautifully painted mural, it's really powerful. So I think it's a wonderful addition to that area.
I'd like to say something else. Mario, I want to say, I think it's really well done, and hopefully we'll get to see more of your work in our community.
Thank you. I would love to, brother. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, I completely agree. Heather gave me a call that the mural had been painted, and I literally had just pulled into my driveway. I backed my car out, drove out, and it's quite it's very powerful visually. So, and that area is very industrial, so it is a big visual pop of color and message. Any
Thank
further? Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're welcome. All right. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the mural, to approve the mural application. Is there any further comment before I call for a vote? And this will be, who will conduct the roll call vote?
I can do that, or Judy. I'm happy to do that.
Okay. All right. Any further comments from the commission? All right. Let's call for the vote, Heather.
Okay. Chair Darcy,
Aye.
Commissioner James,
Aye.
Commissioner Hull,
Aye.
Commissioner Emmerich,
Aye.
and Commissioner Booth.
Aye.
All right. It sounds like we have unanimous yes vote on this. So I guess, will I now close the public hearing on this matter?
Yes. I had to look at
All right.
my notes.
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing on the mural application from Valley Roofing at 4910 Turner Road Southeast. And thank you all very much.
Thank all of you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
I've now got a pop-up message from Zoom trying to sell me a plan, so I've lost video with you
Oh,
all.
no.
I'll try to figure this out while we're talking.
We can see you.
Okay, great. I'll do it while we start the next agenda item. The next agenda item is the election of a vice chair of the commission. And we had a previous indication from Commissioner Michael Hernandez that he would take on this responsibility. So it sounds like we need to have redo a vote on this. So would someone like to make a motion? Well, I guess I should, first of all, maybe open the floor up for anyone else who would like to put his or her name forward for this post. And is there anyone who would like to do that? Sorry, I'm still trying to get my screen back up here. Oh, I'm back. All right, hearing none, let's have a motion to elect Commissioner Michael Hernandez as vice chair of the Salem Public Art Commission.
I move we elect Michael Hernandez as vice chair of the Public Art Commission.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion to elect Michael Hernandez vice chair of the Public Art Commission, say aye.
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 All right, there is unanimous support for that. Motion carries. All right, let's move on to our next item, which is the drummer and the bass question.
Thank you. I have some information to share on that. Let me pull that up. And I'll just let Mr. DeLon and Tana know you're more than welcome to stay, but don't feel like you have to for the rest of the discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for calling in this morning.
Yeah, thank you all for having
guys.
us.
We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, so I will fiddle with the share screen here once again. Okay, images of the drummer hopefully showing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we've talked about this at a few different meetings. Again, just a reminder for folks. The drummer by artist Robert Hess, which has been on display at the Convention Center since 2011, I believe. Actually consists of the two pieces, the large drumming figure and the rooster. It was noted that the large figure recently toppled from its base. And we have some pictures. Let's see. Here we go. Showing that there was rust damage there at the connection point, and it literally just rusted through and fell off. Luckily, no one was injured and the piece is fine otherwise. But since that time, I've reached out to a number of different firms trying to get estimates for the cost to repair this piece, as well as to for costs to create new bases for either one large base that would accommodate both figures or two new bases. The detailed cost estimates that I have received have been from ARG, and they are presently our consultant of record for art conservation and repair. And they visited the site. It's presently in storage at the Convention Center. They visited the piece and did provide an estimate. The structural repairs ranged from $2,000 to about $3,300. And the additional support that they offered to provide was an exterior rod that would be placed about 12 inches on the exterior of the piece. They would try to make it as discreet as possible somewhere along the leg of this large figure and match the patina of that rod as best they can to the patina of the sculpture itself as well. So again, the cost for that was $3,300, roughly the high end there. A new base, if we move forward with a new base, they proposed a bronze base with, again, some kind of patina to match the sculpture. And that would cover the existing plywood bases, which they felt is still needed for extra stability. And so the other estimate that I received was from Mr. Silas Cook, Cook Brothers Omnia, who has done work with the Hallie Ford Museum, or works quite a bit with Hallie Ford, and was recommended. His estimate for structural repairs was similar. It was a range, $3,500 to $4,500. And his thoughts on additional structural support included an interior rod that would be embedded somehow, and he did stick a rod inside this point right here at the base of the foot, so it is hollow inside. So he had suggested that an interior rod be provided. And then his idea for a new base, which would bring the cost up to $5,700, was a steel base that would be suitable for both figures, large enough, but something that would be backfilled actually with glass beads, sand, or some other kind of material. And his reasoning for that was that related to what we learned recently, and that's that this sculpture was initially placed in a reflecting pond at City Hall. And so it was just the feet that was of both figures that was visible, and it appeared that they were walking across water. And so I apologize, I just got a message that my battery's running low. Let me plug that in quickly before I run out of battery. Sorry, let me stop.
Does everyone remember seeing the image of the piece installed in the reflecting pool? Okay,
It was stunning, I thought. you
I
know.
totally agree. I had no idea. So it's really not two separate, it is a single work of art with two elements in it.
I know it's crazy, but I'd love to see if we could figure out how to get it back in the water somehow.
I totally agree.
I wonder, that Tom Hardy piece that is in storage that was also in the water, it's interesting that at that time they were putting sculptures in ponds.
Yeah. I'm back. Sorry about the interruption there. I didn't want to lose power. So the other thing I wanted to share, so I received those two estimates that we've been kind of toying with. The idea of the new base was something that was suggested by this group. Let me just share again, what we have now is it's kind of a rough plywood that's been painted with some kind of gray, almost primer-like paint. So I reached out to, at your suggestion, Chris, to Stephen Adams from the Oregon Artist Series Foundation. Forgive, I don't know what his background is. He seems to know an awful lot about sculpture and the structural components. But he actually, so he let me know that he had conversations with Mr. Hess, the artist, several years back about this piece in particular, and that Mr. Hess actually created these two bases that we're looking at here today. Mm-hmm. It was his suggestion that because of that we simply repair what we have, these existing plywood bases. If we decide to move forward, he suggested that we further chat with others. I think Jonathan Bucci from Hallie Ford Museum, just in terms of what is appropriate moving forward to kind of modify an artist's work of art. So he would suggest that we keep the existing bases. His suggestion for the repair was to not have an external rod, such as was presented by ARG. He did think that an internal tube of some sort would likely be beneficial to this, but that really, if the repairs are done right, it will be very strong, and we really shouldn't need that external piece that was suggested. He didn't have any feedback on either ARG or Mr. Cook. I also shared the proposals with Mr. Hole here today, as it looked like his family had been in contact or knew well the artist. So I don't know, Zach, if you have any additional feedback that you can provide, thoughts on this?
No, I mean, not directly on the piece. I did know Robert. I do remember the piece in the water. So I think there's an interesting, if what was the artist's intent, right? I mean, he obviously designed the pieces to go in the pond, and then he apparently designed these temporary alternative bases for the works to sit on when they were no longer in the water. I'm filling in the gaps here, but that's what I understand to be the case. Mm-hmm. Which I think gives us a little bit of leeway to find a way to maybe both preserve the bases, but also preserve the original intent of the artwork, which was part and parcel with its placement. So I guess I'm gonna, I don't know if it's possible to put them back in the water. I agree that would be ideal, which might require sealing them, or I don't know what kind of treatment you would do to the metal to help preserve it. Alternatively, if it can't be put back in the water, what kind of alternatives, some sort of epoxy or something that could float in a frame that would resemble water or signify water, so that the sort of concept, the original concept was maintained. That would be my proposal. So I don't know, so some way of capturing, both the intent and the work. It's hard for me to think that Robert would have designed a piece for the water and then would hold dear the temporary plywood base that he stuck it on when it came out of the water. I don't know that has too much value, but that's just those are my 2 cents.
Thank you.
I agree with Zach. I'm not sure. My guess is that something happened and either the piece had some issue with the water. And to me, these bases look very rudimentary and not as polished as the sculptures themselves. Yeah, and that they don't respect the actual, or maybe it's the placement of the work in the convention center does not even respect the relationship between the two elements. Well, I guess, are you asking us to take action on this today?
Yeah, if folks certainly don't, if we're not comfortable today, it's been in storage for a few months and I think it's fine where it is. We do have these two estimates and they're kind of waiting for a response at some point on if we're going to move forward. So I guess if some direction, if we want to still consider replacing the bases, we might look at the two proposals then a bit closer that we received if there's preference. And of course, I can speak with Mr. Bucci at the Hallie Ford. But I guess any additional guidance that we can get if we're not ready to provide an action today, it's up to you guys. It'd be nice to keep moving forward.
I would add that I agree that the external support is not a great idea for artistic purposes.
Yeah.
I know Silas isn't, we work with Silas in my business. I know him spiritually. He's an excellent fabricator. So since his proposal is the one that does not include an external rod, given those available proposals, Heather, I did reach out to some other fabricators. I haven't heard anything back yet. I can pursue that if you like, but I think maybe having a follow-up conversation with Silas about what kind of backfill materials, give him a little more information about it being in the water and how that might be replicated visually. If there's A, B, is there any will to place it back in the water? And what would that process look like?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know where we would have placement with water. The reflecting pond that it was in is no longer, that's been filled in. We have the Mirror Pond, which already has a couple different sculptures in it in front of City Hall. So I don't know what other sites that would be.
I guess one question that I have is is there any chance of the drummer returning to the space that had been filled with water? If that could be opened up and I'm not saying refilled with water, but refilled with another substance that the sculpture would rest on top of. I don't know. I'm curious. I'm curious to see the parent image of that scanned image that you shared. I don't know what the source of that was, but yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to look back. There was one from the Statesman Journal. I had a couple showing it in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other might have been from the architect who donated, Case actually had donated some funds for the city to purchase that piece. So they may have taken that other photo.
That would make sense. I know one of the concerns that Jonathan Bucci had about art in general at the convention center is that some of this artwork should not be designed to be moved, that it should be permanently sited so that it would not be subject to potential damage or tipping over or anything that might happen. So if you speak with him, he will probably raise that same issue. I agree with the comments that have been made about using an internal structural support versus external. So that would lead me to support the proposal from Silas Cook, and he does come recommended. I know, Heather, I had suggested also speaking to Michael Hildy, who fabricated the Good Sense sculpture, and he was not interested or available for this project. So what is the preference of the commission? Do you want to take action? Do you want to continue to hold off? It doesn't sound like we've got a lot of other immediate options for work on this.
It seems we don't have the the situation with the base needs to be resolved. I mean, I agree 100% that the rod, and it seems like the epoxies, that seems like a good repair, provided that the rest of the metal is sound enough to support it. But, you know, it seems like whatever is going to happen with the base kind of depends on where this piece is going to go. And it would be, you know, what I'm afraid of is that if we keep them as two separate things, that at some point they get separated and, you know, it's, I kind of like the thought of them being together on one base, but I don't know if we should address that until we know where this piece is going to end up at permanently.
Thank you. The convention center has asked to continue to display it if this group approves of that. Otherwise, I'm not sure where, if we wanted to pursue other locations as we discussed, I can certainly look into that. I'm not immediately sure where else right now we would put it. So open to that.
And maybe,
So far,
go ahead. No, go for it. Sorry.
just a quick comment. If it were to stay inside, could we do some sort of darker epoxy to get some of that reflective, just like a layer on the base? That way it kind of resembles where it was, so that we have some reflection, water type feel to it.
I was going to say the same thing, that we try to keep them together as one artwork in a common epoxy pan, for lack of a better term, that we move forward with Silas, and we assume it's going to be sited in the convention center unless another alternative presents itself. And then I don't know how does the committee actually work with service providers? Is that something that you do, Heather? Okay.
Yes.
I'm sure we'd have to get another estimate for this additional pan or, you know, whatever base idea, or do you think his estimate covers that already?
It didn't look specific enough, you know. I mean, he sort of said glass beads or sand or other material.
Okay.
So we'd probably be going back to him and saying, here's the visual effect we're trying to achieve. Can you know, is that gonna, can you achieve that? I mean, that's something that's nice about an epoxy, is that if the metal was properly prepared, it would add strength to the, you know, to the overall artwork, to those connection points.
Maybe if there is consensus, we could ask Heather to go back to Silas and explore some of those options. And I think it would be important to have a conversation with the convention center and just say, you know, this was the original work of art. This was the intent. This is how it was cited. And our hope is to replicate that as much as possible moving forward, because it probably will require a larger footprint in their space.
So I am hearing, I think there's at least a couple in support of maybe moving forward with Mr. Cook to complete at least the initial repairs. And we could continue to discuss kind of the base options in other locations down the road. Am I hearing maybe that correctly? That might be a first step, or?
You probably want to have the conversations together just around, I think, how he does the repairs might be influenced by the base conversation. So
Okay.
it'd probably be worth asking him for confirmation that his bid could include a base solution that met this goal of having the artwork look like it was originally cited in water. And if that can happen, then I guess I would be in support of moving forward with that, provided that the convention center agrees to display it in with its larger footprint, you know.
I worry about, I don't know how art works at the convention center. I do worry about it getting moved. I think Jonathan is absolutely correct in saying that it needs to be permanently sited and then stay in one place. I also, yes, Silas, no rod outside. I also knew Robert Hess quite well and his artwork quite well. And I don't think he ever would have built a base like that thinking that it would be a permanent solution, because he was such a fine craftsman. And quite meticulous. Yeah, so I think all of this is good. Is it inappropriate if Silas were to join us in one of our meetings just to talk through ideas, or does that need to happen outside of this space?
I don't see any reason why we couldn't ask Mr. Cook to join, and we actually have an attorney here today to let me know if I'm incorrect. So I can certainly ask if he would be willing to provide more detail on what his proposed base might encompass, and actually join and discuss and answer questions if we'd like to move forward with that.
I would like to, I think that would just make sense.
Okay.
Good.
Excellent. That helps. Okay, thank you. This will continue to be on our agenda item. Thank you for talking me through it. It's a valuable piece and a very cool piece with a lot of history. So we're taking it slow and we're going to make the right decision. So I will move forward with discussions with Mr. Cook and see if he can provide more detail and if he's willing to join and available maybe next month in April.
That's great. And I do think, given the city's recent call for images of the era of the building of the Salem Civic Center, that it would be fun if we could find some other images of this piece to feed into that celebration or commemoration that will be happening this summer. I know a number of people have said to me, like, oh, I remember when it was in the pond. So yeah.
I saw it once.
All right, let's move into our discussion items. And the first one, really, I asked Heather to put this on the agenda because I've noticed that a number of jurisdictions are doing some kind of mural development workshops for artists. There's one that's happening through Tualatin Creates, which is up in the Hillsborough, Tualatin area. And then I noticed that Pacific Northwest College of Art is doing an in-person workshop that will go over maybe 5 weeks, and it will be in Portland. So, as we look at what can we do to make Salem more ready to build capacity for murals, I just wanted to say that, there are people who can do workshops, and maybe we can put together a coalition of people who might want to sponsor something in Salem. I mean, there is cost involved. So, and maybe I can circulate a couple links or give them to Heather and she can put them out. Nothing is free. And, the first one I think that Tualatin Creates is doing might be by Zoom. And then the longer one, which is through Continuing Ed at Pacific Northwest College of Art, is in person. But the Portland Street Art Alliance is teaching, one of their people is teaching the one through Tualatin Creates. So it is just information.
Chris, I was talking to Kathleen, and I'm going to forget her last name now. Dinges, maybe? At
Dingus.
Salem Art Association. She's planning a series of workshops for artists on a variety of topics. There might be an opportunity to see. I know she hasn't yet set the agenda for what those are going to be exactly, but there might be an opportunity to talk to her.
Absolutely. Good idea. All right.
I have a question about all that. So is it our intention that we're just going to maintain the status quo with all murals have to be part of the public art collection, or is there any interest in trying to figure out a way that we have murals that are not part of the public art collection?
Heather, I'll let you respond.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for that question. Yes, the current rules stand, right? So we went through the current requirements. We're going to speak in a little bit about the new intersectional art AKA street painting program that is in the works right now. So as part of that, there's been some new terminology that is suggested to be added to Chapter 15, our public art chapter again. And again, we'll speak to this a bit more. There have been some conversations. One of those terms is community art. There have been some conversations about the potential, maybe down the road, murals could fall into that bucket. And there would not be an approval through SPAC that would be required for those. That requires not only the code revisions to Chapter 15, it also requires revisions to our sign code, Chapter 900. I'm not 100% sure we're able to move in that direction just yet. I'm a bit hopeful that we might. I know folks are looking at that. They're looking at what is happening in the city of Portland and city of Bend with their programs. So I don't have a solid answer on that just yet. I think there's a lot more conversations going on about the current requirements and the process that we have in place.
One other question follow-up. Who are the people that are having those conversations? Are those city council members? Do you know specifically?
Yeah, there has been interest raised from city councilors, including Councilor Stapleton has been asking to learn more about the requirements in the program. And then other staff at the city, including our attorneys, have been looking at the requirements, and it all comes back to First Amendment, free speech, and concerns about that, and what kind of processes we have in place that satisfy those requirements. So it is happening at the council level. It's happening with staff. It's happening with legal staff. So a number of folks have been chiming in.
Thank you.
Well, let's move into the intersectional art, the street painting thing. And I'm really glad Susan Dapack has been joining us for meetings, because it's her neighborhood that kind of really came up with this idea in Salem and has been in close communication with Councilor Stapleton. So what is the latest? Maybe I should ask Susan, what's the latest? Is the Grant Neighborhood project expected to happen this year?
Well, we're waiting on just what Heather was talking about, which are the code changes, which we've been informed need to happen before we can go through. And I think, from what I understand, the sign exemption, the sign code, that there's some kind of working sessions that are started on March 1st for that. We were kind of informed about that. I think it was the Planning Commission was working on that to exempt the community art and street painting from that sign, and public murals, it sounds like. And then also the definition of community art and street painting, and what's public art. So I know they're toying around with that, but we've been really encouraged by both Peter Hernandez from Public Works, and then Kevin Hotman, who came and spoke to us at our meeting last week, that this would probably be a go by summer. So the policies and procedures that staff put together, just sound really reasonable, and a lot of it is about public safety and traffic and keeping the crosswalks as identifiable as crosswalks. There was a little bit about maintenance, that they don't really require any maintenance. So there was a question. We had a visitor to our meeting who was involved in a lot of public art that was wondering about, maintenance, whether it should just be allowed to fade or whether we keep it up. There are no requirements that the city is asking for, but that's something that we'll have to discuss, when we get together to talk more about our particular project, which we're meeting next week. We really haven't, the neighbors here haven't really gotten together yet to even talk about the design or the schedule or anything until we kind of got assured that we'd be able to go through with this probably by the summer. So we are meeting next week to talk more about it. We've measured the space, the Belmont and Cottage intersection there. So we have that. The application procedure is really, there wasn't a whole lot about aesthetic, the aesthetics of it. It was more about meeting the criteria of safety, no Trump Lloyd, no sinkholes, anything that look like a sinkhole or a tunnel or anything that would be a safety issue. But we did have one question from a neighbor who was attending the meeting that wanted to be assured that we would make that design public for the, at least for the community, so that people could know what the design was. And I think we've agreed that there's part of the criteria was, no words or I think it'll probably be an abstract design that will be pretty, neutral without too much content that could be controversial in any way. So at this point, we're going to keep things rolling, come up with some designs and wait for the city to change these codes and do what they need to do. We've been told that it does not need to go back. These will be approved by the council, the change, whatever changes, but we don't need to go back to them with the policies and procedures. That they will just be, they've already been accepted for that whatever the staff comes up with. So hopefully by the summer, we'll be out there painting.
I was approached by some folks in West Salem about an idea that someone in the West Salem Neighborhood Association had about some street painting or elements along Edgewater near Wallace Road. And this, I think that the program that is being considered by the city would not be for major thoroughfares. It would be for neighborhood streets with less traffic. But I did drive through the kind of the Edgewater neighborhood after my meeting with these people over the weekend. And that I do think that there are some sites in that neighborhood that would be great for this. There's less traffic. There are a couple of roundabouts. It's, it's an older neighborhood and it's flat. So there might be some interest coming from that part of the city.
Chris, you had sent me some cool images of things that have been done around the country with barricades and, things other than just street intersections. And so I did ask about that. I said, would this include any projects along those lines? And was kind of told, no, this was really just for, the street painting, that there could be issues with barricades that are designed in a certain way for a certain purpose with stripes or whatever that couldn't be changed. So if that ever, if we ever want to do anything like that, we'd have to propose it, I guess, in a different way.
Right. I'd like to get this concept approved, get a couple projects done, and then we can continue the conversation. New York City, for example, has a very active program that uses, design elements on various kinds of barricades, and they're quite striking visually, and they're usually quite a bit larger. But I'd also like to explore, as we see development occurring across the city, that, construction fences might be a site for some kind of a visual element. Like I drove by the Y again, and, you can see CB2 Architects have a big banner. There's a big banner on the site at the south end of Riverfront Park where a new project has been started. I see this as a continuing conversation, but I do think it would be good to get a couple things just done, especially starting with the Grant Neighborhood Project.
Yeah, so just to follow up, thank you, Susan, for the good update. You hit everything that I'm aware of. I'll just share that as she said, the next steps really are those two terms, community art and street painting, need to be included in Chapter 15. So that's a code revision process that will go to council. And then as well, that needs to be, I know that 900 revisions, the sign code is moving forward as well. There will need to be an exemption in 900 for street paintings at least. And so the current plan is I'm going to start a staff report with the draft ordinance, and we're hoping to get that before council. I do need to coordinate with legal on where we're at with 900, but I do hope to get the staff report with revisions to Chapter 15 to council in April. So that, as she said, so the next step after council approval, which is a couple hearings that they go through, would be the formalization of administrative rules, which really is those procedures that I sent out to everyone after the last meeting. And that does not need to be approved by council. So those are approved by staff, just provided to council as an information report once they're completed. So yep, moving forward on that, and we'll keep you posted on any updates or changes, but hope to have that by the summer.
Great.
Thanks.
Are we ready to go on to the Rivers Condo mural update?
Okay, sounds good. Look back at my notes. Okay, so Christy Riddle from the Rivers condominiums downtown, and Linda Nishioka had joined our meeting last month. And they provided an update. There's been a number of conversations over the years about a potential mural on that Rivers condo, large, I don't know how many stories that is, right across from Riverfront Park. So she came to our meeting last month and gave an update. We actually shared some images of the design that she's been working with an artist, Andy Ecclesall. I'm probably saying that incorrectly. So they have a draft design in place, which has been approved by their homeowners association board. And she'd mentioned that she planned to submit an application shortly. The estimated cost for that mural, it will be a large one, is around, I think, 130 is what they're thinking. So they're still doing fundraising. In fact, looking at potentially the formation of a 501c3 to assist with that funding, looking at other grant opportunities. And I know they were reaching out to Forest for the Trees in the Portland area. So with that in mind, I did learn, and I think Chris, you had heard that they're really looking at next summer now, given the funding that is still needed to start the painting. That said, she did submit an application. So we have all of the application materials submitted. They're in my office. So we can, and I've confirmed with staff that even though the painting may not start until next year, that we can indeed move forward soon and restart the public comment and the public hearing process. She's still working on finalizing the design. I think as folks saw last time, it's a large bookcase. And she's working on getting some updates to a couple of the books that would be on the shelf. So I think I'm supposed to receive updates next month in April. So I guess that said, we can move forward. It'd be nice to have the final design to share, but likely it would be May if I start the public comment process soon, that we might have a public hearing on the Rivers condo, and then that would be painted the following summer.
Comments from the commission?
If it was painted, if we approved it this year and then it was painted next year, where does that 7-year thing come in? Does the 7 years start when the mural's finished, or does it start when they submit when we do the approval?
That's a good question. There are, I should add, there are some additional questions actually that our legal staff has had, but given that there's over 30, I think, homeowners in that building, we're looking at kind of the signatory requirements, what their requirements are to actually get that easement in a final approved format. They've submitted a draft, they agree to move forward, but part of the approval process would be approval of that easement form and make sure that all our T's are crossed and I's dotted so that that's appropriate. I don't know, it makes sense to me that the clock would start once it's painted. But I would have to defer to what our legal staff say in that regard, so.
Under the code, the easement runs from 7 years until when the mural is completed.
Thank you.
So
Oh, great.
it's not upon approval, but it is upon completion of the mural. That's when the clock starts.
Thank you.
And may I just ask another question related to that? I'm assuming that under the current code, SPAC would have to accept the completed mural into the public art collection. Is that correct?
Yes, that's it. The requirement still stands.
Okay, great. Well, I know from conversations with Linda Nishioka, they are forming a 501. They're forming a standalone 501c3 for the fundraising because they weren't able to make arrangements for a suitable fiscal sponsor. And I know they're trying to form a board for that nonprofit right now. So that's really why they don't think it's feasible to be able to do anything until the summer of 2023. So it sounds like this is for information. Does anyone have any other questions about the Rivers condo?
Just for my own clarification, did I see something in the code requirements that said mural couldn't be put on a residential structure? Is that why they would need an easement from all the different tenants?
That is one of the requirements.
Just want to make sure we're not going to run into problems with that.
Actually, that is a very good question, because it is technically a mixed use building, because there is retail on the ground floor and residential on the upper stories. But that would be good to clarify.
Yes, it will. Thank you. It seems like we had discussions about this. We've had so many over the last couple of years, actually. I hope that we hit on that, but I'm going to regroup.
Yeah,
Okay.
when they're having the talks about this, you might want to bring that up about
Yes.
this code change, because
Right. I mean, to
And
me, oh, go ahead.
I'll just say that, yeah, it does make sense that we would have the final design as well before it would come to SPAC. So assuming that we get that shortly as well. Sorry, Chris.
Oh, no problem. All right. Are we ready to move on from the Rivers to the Echo Earth Globe?
I have one more comment about that. It might be that they look into the zoning of where the potential future murals would be placed. Will they be allowed to be placed in residential zoning, or is it commercial zoning, or is it mixed use zoning? Is that, I don't know if that's something to think about, but, can we have murals in residential areas?
Yeah, I'll need to have additional, again, I think we've gone through conversations about this in the zoning, but I need to regroup. It's been some time. So we'll discuss that and what is indeed needed for this particular location. Thank you for bringing that up.
So yeah, the code says that the restriction does not include mixed use buildings. So I'm just looking back at it while we're talking. It says no public mural shall be allowed on single family dwellings, duplexes, or multifamily dwellings as used in this subsection. Single family duplexes or multifamily dwellings do not include mixed use buildings. So I think we're fine.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
The attorneys are on here so they can tell us, but I think we're.
Thank you, Zach.
All right. Ready for the Echo Earth Globe? I have been invited to sit in on a couple of meetings of the working group within the Salem Parks Foundation that is kind of leading the fundraising efforts on behalf of that group. A lot of good, very positive energy. The next steps are to put up a large sign in both English and Spanish that will be on the fence surrounding the globe. that just talks about the fact that the Salem Parks Foundation is going to be leading the fundraising. There will be a QR code on it that will lead people directly to the donation page of the Salem Parks Foundation. And we are hoping to get a suitable photograph taken with folks, a diverse group of people from Salem, around the ball, to make the sign more interesting, and hoping for a photo shoot with that as early as next week. And then the city will produce the sign. So this working group is not going to hold a meeting in March. The next meeting will not be until the middle of April. So, but they are planning to have a presence at the World Beat Festival, which will happen on a weekend in June. It's usually very well attended. And, obviously the park is very, very, well used. And as the weather improves and the days get longer, there'll be more and more people down at that end of the park and the park in general. But that's the latest. I think the project needs a couple of large gifts. Someone gave $5,000 in December. So, the month when they raised about $21,000. So there's still a lot of ground to be covered before anything can really happen. And before any real significant grants can be, applied for. So that's kind of it. Is there any more information that you have, Heather?
Only just a reminder that we are still moving forward with the historic landmark nomination for the Eco Earth. And I think the next step that I just learned is the Historic Landmarks Commission will complete a resolution to move forward, a formal resolution, I think is what they called it, this month. They would hold a public hearing, a formal public hearing at the Historic Landmarks Commission then in April. And then after that, there would be additional notification and a public hearing at City Council. So that is a number of steps involved with that, a number of notifications that need to be sent out, but that's still moving forward as well. And hopefully that will only assist getting, increasing community awareness as well as with potential grant funds.
Great, thanks for mentioning that. Because I think that SPAC would want to weigh in with, provide some public testimony in the course of those processes. Let's move on to the Public Works Operations Building.
Okay, let's see, what did I have for that?
And Paula and Michael are serving on that committee.
Paula, do you want to provide do you have any thoughts on where we're at, or I can jump in?
Let's see, I only was able to attend one of the artist meetings, but we have chosen 10. Oh, we just have 12 meetings. I gotcha. So yeah, we have chosen 12 artists to submit further proposals, specific proposals. And then we had a couple of meetings last week with those artists to answer any of their questions and to just make sure that we were all on the same page. And then they will be submitting those proposals. Is it the end of this month, Heather?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. And then we're meeting at the beginning of April. We have meetings set up with each artist individually to present their proposals. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's right. We have 10 finalists that were selected from the 27, I believe, that submitted for this new Percent for Art project with our new Public Works building. And we set up 12 different meeting slots. I filled everybody's inbox this week, as we try to work through what dates and times work for the artists. So they will be submitting, that's that last week of March. Each will be presenting their proposal. And they've been, of course, paid a stipend to do that process. So we'll go through all 10 of those and then also have discussion and hopefully make a final selection on 1 or 2 artists that will be our next Percent for Art artist for the new building. So it's moving along, excited to see what they present. And
can I just say that the building is going to be stunning.
Yeah,
It's really beautiful.
I don't know if anybody is familiar with our current operations building, but it's in pretty poor shape. So it's just like night and day. It's going to be a huge boost, I think, for staff and for that area. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be beautiful. And just a reminder, the selection committee for that project does include Commissioner Booth, Commissioner Hernandez, as well as Jen DeZenis, I think is her name, from Hacker, the architect working on that, and Mark Bechtel from our Public Works Operations. So those are the committee members looking at the proposals.
Great. I agree. The building is going to be amazing. Well, let's move into our final update, and it's the Library Art Hall. And the Library Foundation has asked the Oregon Artist Series Foundation to kind of program that space in the library, that corridor space. And Oregon Artist Series Foundation, or OASF, is thinking that they will continue the using the artist who has work in the new level 2 space at the convention center to show some additional work in that library art hall. So Kristen Coons, whose series of work, inspired by Minto Brown Park, will show some process pieces that she, did leading up to the creation of those other works in the library. And the plan is that they will be installed Monday morning, the day when the library is closed. So I've only seen one image, and I haven't heard anything else. But is the city still moving forward with a contract for Kristen Coons, the artist?
Yes, we are. I submitted to Ms. Coons last night. We have a draft artwork loan agreement that we'll have to have her sign, and hopefully we can get that all finalized, because as you said, we're hoping we can install Monday. So that will need to be completed and signed by both Ms. Coons and the city manager by Monday. So we've got the draft agreement sent out, and then once we get that, I think we're ready to install. I know Kate's planning to be there from the Library Foundation. I will be there, Ms. Coons, of course, and I think Mary Lou from OASF was planning to be as well, so there'll be a team. It should go pretty quickly, but that space is ready. It's vacant right now, so hopefully we get there.
And I'm planning on coming to take some photographs that we can use to, maybe for social media for sure. And I have a couple of other PR ideas that I want to pitch now that we've got this second dimension, and we'll see. There was very minimal coverage in the Statesman, and I think there's we can pitch it to a couple of writers, see if we get anywhere. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad it's happening. The library, it does look fabulous. The artwork looks fabulous. The Amanda Wojcik piece looks great. And people, every time I go into the library, I closely observe who's looking in that art hall, and people are there, taking pictures, getting up, looking at the artwork close up, and it's a good thing. All right, we're down to commissioner comments. Any comments? Thank you all for being here, because I'm glad that we had full participation, except for Michael, for the Valley roofing mural. I think that went well. I'm glad to have that outcome. And it will be interesting to see what kind of social media conversation there might be, following the vote this morning. So we can keep an eye on that.
A couple updates when we're ready too.
Great. How about now?
Okay. I just wanted to share that I learned last week, actually, the boards and commissions selection committee, which meets quarterly to review applications. They are meeting next week, next Wednesday, I think. is what I heard. So we had actually 7 applications that were submitted since December for this commission. I didn't yet see any experience in the community foundations, landscape architecture, what is it? Community foundations, landscape, and real estate development. So I didn't see that expertise in the lot yet, but we had some art background and art education experience. So the commission, the selection committee will meet next Wednesday and make a decision, hopefully. So we'll hear about that soon. And then again, they will meet again likely in the summer. I think June would probably be their next one. So that's moving forward.
How many positions are we filling, Heather?
So right now we still have Eileen's position, which is experienced in arts education, critiquing. And then Chris has been generously staying on. So eventually she will, I imagine, want to escape. And it's the community foundation, real estate, and landscape architecture experience that is needed. I have had some interest, I think, maybe potentially in that. So we'll see for later this summer, I think it would be. And then the only other update I wanted to share, somebody had written in actually to share that the Good Sense piece downtown was quite dirty. It's been growing moss and stuff for a bit. It looked like somebody had stuck some tape or something on a mask or something. I had noticed that a while back when I was down there. And so I ended up just popping down and I just used water, but I did wipe it away from what I could reach. It's quite tall. But I was able to get most of that with just some water. So it does look better, thankfully. But it just reminded me that I think soon it would probably be a good idea. We've got a number of pieces, I don't have the count, outside that probably should be looked at. Some kind of just condition assessment with some plan forward with continued maintenance. I noticed on this particular piece, and I haven't yet looked back at the design and the materials, but there appears, I believe it was aluminum, but there appears to be some kind of coating, and maybe it was just a protective kind of coating on it that is starting to chip away, and that does not look bad. But I don't know what that means in the long run. So it would really be good just to kind of look at these pieces and get some recommendations moving forward so that we can keep up on them a little bit better. So I might be looking at that soon.
I'm glad you brought that up. We should make sure that the contracts that the artists are signing for these public art commissions include a provision for the submission of a maintenance plan and schedule. That should just be part of the standard agreement, so that if let's say it's some kind of a surface thing that needs to be reapplied on 5 years, that that gets plotted out. Yeah. I know there is a large piece at the convention center, and now I'm blanking out on who the artist is. And the piece had a gold tone finish when it was installed, and now it is brown. Now, I think it's an artist from Eugene. I will get the information to you, Heather, but that would be another one to put on the list to just take a look at.
Thank you.
All right, is there any other business that we should take up this morning? All right. I think with that, we can adjourn the meeting of the Salem Public Art Commission today at 11:07 a.m. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
One final question. Is there any update on the potential for the mural at the Y, Spencer?
No, I think that I'll just have to keep on them.
Okay, I just wondered.
Yeah,
I drove by. The building's really looking good.
Yeah, I know, it's getting excited.
Yeah. All right. With that, we will still adjourn the meeting of the Salem Public Art Commission at 11:08 a.m. All right.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, Susan.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.